We could talk and not talk, and best in show. That's a quote. We're starting out this week in RVA bike scene. I'm Ian Stewart, transportation reporter, YouTuber, creator, podcaster with Sean right here. He is just a man about town, knows everything about bikes. We're here to talk about what's going on in Richmond this week. It's the end of the week. It's the 28th of May. And there's a lot going on. We've had some really bad weather, Sean.
We have.
We need the rain. So
we need the rain.
We need the rain. But in terms of getting out for biking, it threw my whole plan of, I'm going to bike during the week now. And I did it last week, and then the rain came, and I'm like, anyways.
Yeah.
How are you doing, by the way?
I'm all right. It's the end of bike month. So, we're coming up, got to finish strong. Yeah. And there's a lot on the calendar coming up. So if you can get out and do something bike related, there's plenty to do.
Yeah.
The weather should be good for us this weekend.
Have you done anything for Bike Month?
I have been to a few small things. I did the brewery,
Nice.
Bikes and beers. I did that. Yeah. That was great. We just kind of rode around Northside, ended up at Hardywood. Met a few new people, and some people that I know in the neighborhood that I'd never seen on a bike before came out. That was fun.
Yeah.
Had some good chats with people that I know, and some people that I don't really know very well, but yeah, really, really good little casual group. We ended up at Hardywood, hung out for a little while, and everybody rode home. Outside of that, more or less, I have not been able to do much of anything on account of a head cold, then chest cold, then whatever.
I've only done some solo rides, which I posted on Ian Stewart Cycles on YouTube, but I haven't done any group Richmond because I'm in Chesterfield. I'm not allowed to go to Richmond Bike Month things. I'm kidding.
It's not because we won't let you.
It's just because I'm an ass. No.
Well, you just see if you have to drive to get your bike here. It's like what
I lament every time where I'm like, I wish I lived in the city again, where I could just ride over to something and do. So I'm going to put this out tomorrow, Friday, and there's a bridge thing tonight, which I really want to go. But tomorrow I think is Critical Mass, which we kind of talked about pre-recording. I did Critical Mass in San Francisco way back in the mid 90s when it was actually, it was needed. It's still needed, but it was like a thing, and man, were people pissed off, but man, did it help. Their bike lanes now are much better. And then this weekend, there's a Rag and Bones ride. It looks like a group ride, 8:30 or 9:30 in the morning. There's another, the Hills That Have Thighs climbing ride. That's also at 8. And then there's that old house ride. And that one sounds actually kind of fun too. Maybe I'll try to get to one of those this weekend.
South Side, yeah. Carter Jones Park.
Yeah. These are all on sportsbackers.org. RVA, just go to Sportsbackers and then type in Bike Month. And then you should see all the remaining events. Outpost is having a ride on Sunday. The Outpost Bike Shop, which is great. It says Bike Trails, Path Routes, and Lanes e-bike group ride. And then East Coast Greenway ride. That looks interesting too in Lakeside. So still a lot of stuff to finish the month. And then, Monday is June, but that's Bike Monday Bros. I know Rabba always has a weekend calendar. So go check out some things to do on your bike this weekend if you want to join some activities.
The weather should be nice for all of it.
Finally.
So looks like it's not going to rain until next week now.
My son and I just did a hike over at Pony Pasture today. It was beautiful.
Yeah, great day.
We sat there and had a zen moment. So we have other things.
It was National Hamburger Day, so I went out for burgers at lunch like that,
So you're already done for the night?
I'm already done. I've eaten the burger. And hamburger, though, I broke the rules by having a cheeseburger, so with potato chips on it.
Nice. Oh, wow. All right. There you go. I just do potato chips with hot dogs when I was in elementary school. That was a cool thing.
Yes. What was on offer?
There you go. So we have this bike lane thing. Last time we got together, you and I, the bike lane parking
got excited.
Got excited. Like they started issuing tickets and things like that. And then they pulled a U-turn and said, "Whoa, we'll stop." But you're out there on the streets.
I am.
What's the word on the street, Sean?
So, at least on my streets, the ticketing will commence again on June 1st. So the complaint was that there was no warning, which I don't really know how they, the bike lanes have been there for years and the signage has been there for years. And to me, there was no real confusion. But apparently people who had been parking in the buffers were unhappy that they were getting tickets all of a sudden. So they gave like a grace period of a month. So they started on May 1st. Now it's going to be June 1st. They refunded everyone who filed the paperwork for a refund. They're going to start ticketing again on June 1st. But the behavior has changed drastically. So Brook Road is I see it every day. Brook Road has changed almost every car, I think like I'll see maybe one a day that's parked in the buffer instead of like one or two a block. I don't know, what other people are reporting from around the rest of the city, but I imagine the behavior is probably the same because everybody's kind of gotten the word now that, hey, this is going to be a thing. So my kid who rides to school every day, and my daughter and I rode the bike lanes last Friday morning, and there wasn't one car that she had to kind of navigate around, and so that's been great.
Good.
And I think that people, if they understand it, if they follow that rule, the sign has always been there that bike lane here, car parking here.
Well,
I do. Yeah. I know that there are some areas in the city where like the buffer and the lane are not wide enough. So, and I say buffer and lane, but there's a spot, I want to say it's on South Side, maybe on Hopkins or something, where the bike lane, the bike lane is not curb adjacent, it's lane adjacent. And the buffer is like 3 feet wide, but that makes the parking lane like 6 feet wide, 7 feet wide. Some cars don't fit fully in that buffer. Mm-hmm. or within the parking lane and not into the buffer. I don't know if they're giving some sort of, if you're not on the curb, but you're next to the curb and you're still in the buffer, you're also not allowed to park on the curb by city code. So, you can't make it legal either way. I don't know how they're going to deal with those situations. Like if you have a work truck that's a little wider, 7.5, 8 feet wide, maybe they can look at that and say, we're not going to give you a ticket. But if you're just parked in the buffer for the sake of parking in the buffer, I feel like discretion is needed. So I haven't seen how that's going to all work yet.
Yeah.
But well, it is changing the behavior.
I feel like the media in general, especially TV media, jumped on, they're stopping it for a while, which, right. I saw a ton of posts, which, still got the word out that people should do it. And I think, my take on cars are way too big. There's so many cars that are big, and, these streets were designed a long time ago with carriages and, even smaller cars, but it was carriages and it was foot traffic and it was bikes and it was street cars. It wasn't your monster truck and your big truck. And, we all have to get along. We all have to make sure that there's space for people to get along. If you live in the city, you need to learn how to park either correctly or park elsewhere and have to walk. When I lived in San Francisco, I knew when street cleaning was, I knew when all that was, I knew how to, I got ticketed once, I've been towed. So you learn, like you're in a city, so you are with everybody. So you need to learn how to kind of do it.
Yeah. And everything now is a retrofit. We're constrained by the curb to curb and the median and the sidewalk and the drainage infrastructure. We're not building a new suburb. And that's where Henrico getting a little bit better, but some of these new suburbs that have the ability to put in something new that takes into account everybody, it would be great. But my mom lives in a new neighborhood, 2019 development, 2020, and the road width is, I want to say like 60 feet, no sidewalks. And even if somebody parks on the street, you still have like 20-foot lanes, so they could have They could have increased the grass, decreased the pavement, and made it better for everybody and slowed the traffic down. But everything is super wide, no sidewalks. So there's still some areas that could use some help, but it is something that we deal with in the city that isn't the same as the counties. And I see that all the time, like, they just need to build sidewalks. They just need to, every time they build, they need to do this thing. Well, you really can't. At some of these areas, downtown, why is it expensive to build things downtown? Because everything's old, because everything's covered in sidewalk and concrete and cobblestones, and all of the right of way is already occupied by electricity and gas main and water main and sewer. You can't just widen the road because there's already buildings there.
Right.
So it's expensive, it's hard, the permitting is hard to do these things, and we're doing the best we can, but it's limited space.
Limited space, and just everyone try to get along, because we all have different modes of transportation. Bus, walking, biking. Biking's not going away, and neither is the bus and walking. Right. Anyways, I kind of mentioned street sweepers. So if you remember, I did a story for the Richmonder on the the self-funded mini bike lane sweeper that a few people, Dan Nelson, who's running that, and John Murden of RVA Cargo Bike kind of helps with that. Well, it came finally after a long process, and they're taking volunteers. I think if you're on Instagram, you could look up sweeper. I just had it a minute ago. Let me see if I can still get it.
RVA
bike lane sweeper. Yeah,
Can't remember.
there you go. Bike lane sweeper underscore Richmond, or go to RVA Cargo Bike on Instagram and look it up that way. But they're taking volunteers, and you could check it out, and that you should see that on the roads. I did that story on the mini sweeper that the city got along with MF Broom. I'm not in the city, so are you seeing the sweeper out? They're supposed to be doing it starting like a while ago all the time.
I haven't seen it in person. I did see a bike lane that looked like it must have been taken care of.
Yeah.
And so that, if nothing else, there will be visual evidence. Having not seen it in person, I'm like, this thing's kind of a unicorn, right?
But so, I will, let me just piggyback on that. So I get that comment, and this is not that you do this, but I get this comment, or I see it a lot, where when drivers complain about bike lanes and they say, I don't see anybody biking on it. So granted, unless you see the evidence of a bike sweeper, then it was probably there. But chances are, we don't see everything all the time. We're not sitting, on a bike lane 24 hours. You happen to have one right outside your house. So you'll know when it comes. But for the most part, drivers don't see cyclists all the time because they're not driving all the time. So if they're on their commute, they're like, I don't see anyone in it. Doesn't matter. But the sweeper, they say it's there. So anyone listening, if you've seen it, MF Broom and its little baby brother, sister, whatever, let us know.
Yeah. And all of us have different commutes, different directions, different times that we leave the house. So if you leave at 7:15, maybe you don't see a bike, but if you left at 7:20, you did. It's a really big variable system.
And people work at different times.
Right.
That's the other thing. Whenever I read comments, especially about like No King's Rally, No King's Day, and all the stupid comments on the news coverage, and like when I covered that, and comments were like, "Oh, they don't have a job," and blah blah blah. Like people work different hours.
But it was a Saturday.
Sakes. Yeah, it's a Saturday. A lot of people are off, or maybe it's important to them to get out and do a rally or a critical mass or something, like just because.
I work 4 days a week, and I get to pick kind of how I structure that 32-ish hours. I can, if I need to take a Friday off or half of a Friday off for something, I can,
Yeah, I work from home and set my own hours for the most part.
Yeah.
So anyways, let's get on to some other nicer stuff. Bryant Park races have started, and I said this in our pre-chat, that I already caught one video on YouTube of a racer riding at Bryant Park. And really cool. If you just look up Bryant Park races, I think on YouTube, you can find this guy. And he has like a speedometer of how fast they're going. He has a rear camera. So it's kind of cool, like really puts you in the action, which of course I would love to do on my bike, not race, of course, because I'm not like that. But so what's going on with the Bryant Park races?
We've had 2 so far. Luckily, the weather held out for us this past week, and numbers are pretty normal for the early part of the season. The heat, the first night probably kept a few people away. The second night, the rain probably kept a few people away. But it looks like we're heading into a decent season again, and everybody's appreciative that we're still doing it.
Yeah, that's 50 years, right?
53, I think, is the year now, and people for all of our bike race scene that we have on the weekends, we have a really, really dedicated group in Richmond, and some that come from a little bit further away that come every Tuesday night, just about. And some people don't race on the weekends, but come out on Tuesday night. So it's for some people, this is their race, which makes it's a pretty big event, and usually there's a lot of people hanging around at the middle, hanging around at each corner. And so we have a little party atmosphere. It's pretty fun.
They're a lot of fun.
Yeah, we have a good time. So, and we're starting to get a few more, I wouldn't call them sponsors, but there's a few people who are bringing out we have one bike shop that brings out like a work stand, tools, just in case you need anything at the last minute. We had a massage therapist, I think 2 years ago, that was part of a company. We might have another one of like a PT thing coming out to, not sponsorship, but more like advice. They're not giving anything away other than like maybe bananas, apples, granola bars.
Sure.
They're not really throwing a lot of money at us, but we have some prizes. We have some cash payout for the winners of the races, things like that. We have a podium this year for each of the races, which is something we haven't had in the past. Kind of cool. Nice. People seem to enjoy being take a picture of everybody on the podium at the end of the night.
So where can people go look this up to get more information?
We're at Bryant Park every Tuesday night. We're in the back loop. It's called the Azalea Loop, but I'm not sure if you look it up on Google. We
Google or
actually have
Facebook or something? Or
so we have a page on Facebook called Bryan Park Training Series and also Richmond Festival of Cross. We do both things. So we have one page and all the information is on bikereg.com. If you wanted to register, now it's a day of. The season pass has expired. Now you have to pay every night. But all the information about what time things are is on Bike Reg. Facebook page, Bike Reg, and then also 5:45 p.m. the women's race starts, and we just roll from there every Tuesday, weather pending.
yeah, cool. I gotta check that out. I think I can make one of those. They're so much fun.
Come back
And
out.
I know there's other bike races going on too, which I'm on their email list of RVA Racing or something like that. But shoot, I can't think of what they are.
Marathon State Mountain Bike Championship was last weekend up in at Miller School in Crozet. Haven't rained a little bit before the race. I'd been sick. I wasn't planning on doing it, but it was definitely not on my list. It was a lot of climbing up there, and then we kind of take the summer off for mountain biking in this area. Mainly because of the heat. There's a few things happening a little bit further away in terms of gravel coming up, but nothing. I mean, nothing truly local until we get to, I think, Tour de Pocahontas in August.
Well, that's a great segue because I remember seeing something about Pocahontas trail cleanup this weekend.
Yeah, that's on Sunday this week.
Yeah, Friends of Pocahontas or something. Also on Facebook, I think you could look it up
right
there, but they could always use some help for that.
Yeah, we're kind of devoid of true events in terms of mountain bike until we get to nationals in Roanoke. So amateur and pro nationals for the U.S. are in Roanoke again this year. Starts on the 13th or 14th of July, goes into the 19th of July. I think we've got.
We could definitely talk about these when they get a little closer.
Yeah, there's really very little. Just like I said, the heat in Central Virginia, mountain bike kind of goes away.
Yeah.
So
that's
okay. I don't mind. Perfectly fine.
There is some big races going on right now professionally. Of course, the Giro is winding up this week. Giro d'Italia. Jonas Vingegaard looks to not to work commentators at all by any stretch of the means, but it looks like he's going to take that title. And I was watching the pre-show or whatever, and or maybe it's Orla Shinoe, who's one of the commentators of the pre-race show, and she'd said that Jonas is already talking about Tour de France, like he's already thinking ahead to that race because he wants this one in Tour. Yep. So
he's not spending any more energy than he has to right now. So
yeah, and I've been like this one. I remember watching it last year, and I watched like everything. I remember. I think it's just me last year. I was like watching every race I could, and this year I'm catching it. I may be watching a recap if I don't. On YouTube on TNT Sports, we'll have a recap, and then there's other like Antwerp. I watched.
That was great.
The women's. I watched the women's. I didn't watch the men's. Antwerp
but both were a lot of fun to watch just because they're different. I had never really watched it before, but it was a great race to watch.
Yeah, and but June we were just talking. So we have Tour de France coming up, and we have the World Cup. So
we have starting on Saturday though.
Our house is just going to be what's coming Saturday.
The women's Giro.
Right. Oh, I'll be watching that.
It's only a week long, but yeah, we've got the Giro, the women's Giro coming up. So, we're going from one straight to another to watch.
Yeah, they seem to do that. But I'll definitely watch that because I really enjoy watching women's racing. The men's Giro has been great, but I don't know. I'm just not like, I don't know if it's me or I'm like, yeah, Jonas, like go, and whoever else, like some of the surprise stage winners. And it's still beautiful. Like I have it on when I'm working, and man, whenever they get near a lake or up into the mountains or just anywhere, it's beautiful, just amazing beauty. So,
yeah.
Well, there you go. That's all I have. Do you have anything else?
I really don't. Like I said, we're getting into some nicer weather. Hopefully it doesn't end up being summer too quickly. We'll get a little bit of the spring that we didn't. Well, we kind of had a long spring.
We did. And hopefully it'll still go for a little bit before we dive into.
But the kids are going to be out of school starting next week.
Mine's already done.
I don't know what to do, but we're going to be riding at Pocahontas like once a week. We're going to go to Kings Dominion once a week. We're going to the skate park once a week. When you ride Pocahontas,
let me know. Maybe I'll. Yeah. Not that I can't keep up with you guys, and I only do the fire roads, but I'm close by to Pocahontas.
Yeah, well, I've got a 9-year-old that I got to take around, so I ride the small stuff anyway.
But, yeah, well, I just do the fire trails.
Gotcha.
But Pocahontas is great if people want to get there and check it out. They have some really good trails, fire roads, as well as some really different levels of trail for those who are interested.
And they're doing a lot of work. They're still doing a lot of work on a few One of the ones that gets closed all the time is Freight, which is kind of the downhill BMX track. They're adding, I can't remember the name of it. I want to say it's called like Trail Armor. It's a manufacturer of some kind of, it's not rock. I don't know if it's plastic or some kind of like flexible concrete product that's going to keep that from eroding every time it rains. So I'm curious to see how that looks when they're finally done with it. I don't think they're done with it yet, but they've been working on that. Maybe that's what this coming weekend is.
Yeah.
So a couple of those trails, they erode a little bit because of the makeup of being red clay. And when they get the ruts in them, they never really recover just by riding them. So some of this is going to get a little bit better. But yeah, get out there and ride.
I'm trying to get my calendar set to do some type of ride, a birthday in August, and I'm debating if I want to do an age for mile ride, mile for age ride.
Yeah, it's like 42, 45 miles.
Yeah, I think it's like 40.
Yeah.
Okay, 40.
Cool.
Or like a bakery ride, like tour suburban bakeries, which won't be that much, but I'm trying to think of these good projects to ride to show on Stewart Cycles.
Awesome.
And so stay tuned for that. But anyway, Sean, I hope you have a great week.
Yeah.
And
you too, man.
See you out on the road.
Let's go ride.
You've been nerding out about the RVA bike scene. Be sure to like and subscribe and share the show and tip your server if you can. On Venmo, I'm at Ian-Stewart-82. Be sure to check out my other podcast called History Reinvented. And if you like music, check out Ian's World of Music show on Mixcloud. So check it out, because I know what I'm doing. And you could also look for my freelance work on outlets like the Virginia Mercury, the Richmonder, Richmond Magazine, and on the podcast Full Disclosure with Robin Farzad. The Mechanics of Transportation is a Big Soap production. See you next week. Thanks for tagging along.